Today is April 24th, and I have here Miss Jamileth. She has already signed the oral history agreement, so I will just have her introduce herself.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jamileth Mendez.
Okay, so then we can go ahead and start the interview. So I'll start with when and where you were born.
I was born on June 17, 2001. I was actually born at Providence Hospital at Washington, D.C., so not far from here, but I was actually raised my whole entire life in PG County.
Did you grow up there, like around PG?
So I kind of moved around St. George's County, so I lived in Hyattsville, maybe like a year or two in Bladensburg, and now I'm living in Greenbelt, so I've been living there for my entire life.
Do you like living around the PG County?
Yes, I do.
Did your parents or guardians work outside of the home?
Yeah, so both of my parents work outside the home. My mom, for the first couple of years of my life, she was a stay-at-home mom. But once it was a couple of us more, like, of course, as our family involved, my mom's had to start working and stuff. But my dad, yes, has for his entire life, he has always worked outside of home. And so he's been working for the last 30 years outside of the home.
Do you have a lot of siblings, or is it just you?
Yeah, so I am the oldest of four.
Oh, okay.
And so growing up in a Hispanic household, I haven't had a lot of responsibilities and taking care of my siblings while my parents were working home.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of, it's only three of us, but also, like, as the oldest daughter of, like, an immigrant household, that definitely comes with a lot of, like, more responsibilities as opposed to, like, the oldest son, you know? Yeah. What do you remember about the home you were raised in?
Yeah, so for the first 6 years of my life, I was, like, the only child. And so during that time, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so I would always spend my time with my mom, seeing all the different stuff that, you know, she would, like, cook, clean, have, you know, everything for the house good and maintained. And so growing up, it was really good. But once my siblings started coming along throughout the years, I had to grow up at a young age and carry a lot of responsibilities just because my parents had to work. And so I had to be really independent at a young age, making sure my siblings were getting to their bus at times, going to school, taking care of them after school. But even that, in school, I used to be a lot of engaged from elementary to middle school. Sometimes, if I had the opportunity, I would be involved in after-school activities and programs.
That's honestly really impressive, especially because you have to manage, like, your siblings too, not just like yourself, and then also managing your parents at the same time. How would you describe your childhood and teenage years prior to college?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I would say having my parents who both didn't speak English really well, particularly because I started school at HerStory, I had to do my homework by myself. And so I do remember, and it's like a memory I have about my parents. Back then, translators, like the phones weren't available there. So my parents would get like their dictionary, and they would get a separate sheet of paper. And so each word that was on like my homework sheet, they would like translate using a dictionary just to help me at a young age too. And so I remember school was really important for me to learn like English and hopefully like as I was growing up, help my parents translate and different stuff, which I did, like, starting in middle school. Once I knew how to write and read, I had to be, like, the translator for my family. And so I'll say in that part was a lot of, like, helping my parents at my teenage years. And again, in my teenage years, I would always be a lot involved in different activities in school, whether it was tutoring, being part of, like, a camp leader at my church, or being part of after-school activities.
Yeah, I think because I was born in 2002, so I also found it very hard. I remember briefly, like, when I was elementary school, when we would have, like, the parent-teacher conferences, that would be really difficult, especially because, like, imagining like a 7-year-old trying to translate what you're doing from your teachers to your parents. And I remember a specific time where I was there practically all day because most of the other parents were also Hispanic and didn't know English. And so I remember this teacher asking me to translate for like all these other parents. And like my dad was just like, yeah, she can do it. And I was like,
like you said, I will always volunteer like during those type of back to school programs or any school events. Here I am translating at a young age. And
and honestly, like, don't get me wrong, it was really helpful, especially like having that Spanish influence. It's like really stuck in my head because I remember for a long time I also like I'd be like, well, my mom, she was very much like, you have to speak Spanish at home and English at school, and I would always be like, well, I don't want to.
Right.
But honestly now, like, it's been so helpful. Especially I work at a my internship is at a Latin American bilingual school, and so it's really come in handy to even get the opportunity to be at the school. So
I said being bilingual, being able to speak both languages is really helpful. Like I said, like right now where I'm working at, I work for a community that 60% is Hispanic. And so a lot of the folks there who live there, they only speak Spanish. And so that plays a huge role in my part, being able to work with residents and translating any like outreach materials that we have.
It definitely helps you even get the opportunity in the first place, you know, because if you don't know that second language, then you're placed into another category that like they start looking for more like bilingual people. Right. Where do you currently work?
So I work for a local government. So I work for a small town. And so what I do there is that I'm their communication specialist. So I really help them promote a lot of like any like community events that we have going on, or anything from like the county or anything that's really important to the community. I help push out the word for them. And I also work with teenagers there in the community. So I started a junior green team. And so we do a lot of environmental activities. And so I'm there helping out with different of their community outreach.
Oh, that sounds really good. What did you want to be when you first grew up? Or when you were growing up?
So growing up, I mean, being the oldest of four and then having to help my siblings also with their homework besides doing my homework on my own. And also I was a tutor, I think in 4th grade. There used to be a program called Reading Together. And so I was a 4th grader and we would be assigned to like a 1st grader, and we would read to them and we would do their homeworks with them. And also in middle school, again, some of my classmates didn't speak Spanish, so I will help them with their homework and their assignments as well. And then actually in high school, I was a teacher summer assistant, so I used to help also my classmates with their projects and also helping with their homeworks. And also because most of my classmates in high school, I would say like 80% of them didn't speak English, so I will also help there. And so growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher because a lot of my teachers had a big influence on me, and so I did want to be an influence for other children, especially from children like look like us, or Hispanic or minorities, and I did want to be a teacher. And so all that time I wanted to be a teacher, and so when I applied for Trinity, I wanted to be a teacher, and I did took my early childhood classes and stuff and requirements, but then there was a switch where I wanted to be in the business program, and so I ended up switching there. But I don't know, maybe in the future I'll still be a teacher. Who knows?
Is that what you got your degree in business?
So I got my degree in business, and I got my dual minors in environmental justice and early childhood education.
My sister's currently doing business administration she's on more like the math side, though. She's doing like a minor in data analytics.
That was a new program when I was doing.
Okay, so then what brought you to Trinity, and was it your first choice for college?
So actually Trinity was not my first choice. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do after high school. I was applying to different schools, from different community colleges to universities, both in and out of state, because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And towards my end of like senior year of high school, I was like, well, I'll just go to Queen George's Community College, because it was like 2 years. Mm-hmm. I'll decide then if I really want to pursue a higher education or not. And then I remember it was like mid my high school year, senior year, mid, there was a recruiter from Trinity who had came to the high school, and she had talked about Trinity, about the great programs there are and all these great stuff. And I remember reading about all these people that graduated from Trinity that have like a great position, and they found their confidence here and all these great stuff. And so once I towards like I applied for Trinity, and so on my last day of high school, I remember that I got accepted to Trinity, but still during summer I wasn't like really decided of coming to Trinity, and so it was like always I'm going to go to Queen George's Community College. And so I did the whole orientation there. I took their test and everything, but there was still something in me that was like, I want to come to Trinity. So I came with my dad. We worked with the financial team, and so I was able to get a couple of scholarships to attend school. And then I walked around campus with my dad, and I felt like Trinity was the choice. So in mid-July, when everybody had already committed to Trinity and had the classes, I was one of the last people. And so I made that commitment. I did, and I decided to come to Trinity instead.
Trinity wasn't my first choice either. I had actually did my 2 years at Montgomery Community College. So I'm glad that you had that experience. So, how much did you learn about Trinity's history while you were a student?
I learned a lot. I think, so actually towards my senior year of Trinity, I did my internship with, for a little small nonprofit. It was for a bakery that is established in Haiti. And so the person who actually runs that, she's a sister from Trinity. So she has history with Trinity. And so every time that me and her would meet, like she would tell me a lot of like great history of Trinity and her times there. Because from her time being here as a student at Trinity was way different from our time. And so I learned a lot, and just being around campus and, meeting folks and who have worked here for a lot of years, I have learned a lot of like Trinity history.
Yeah, I don't think I learned anything up until like this semester when I started taking this class. And I feel like that's the difference between like transferring and just being here all 4 years too. Were you the first person in your family to attend college?
Yes, I was. I'm the first generation to graduate from a four-year university from both sides of my family.
How well did your high school experience prepare you for Trinity?
So I think the responsibility, like my attendance and the commitment, like being really focused in high school. So in high school, in my whole entire life with school, I've been really focused with school, trying to get my good grades, being on time in school, participating in after school activities or any way that I could help during those school when I was like in school. And so it definitely prepared me a lot. I mean, I had teachers that were almost like professors. Like they would give you deadlines, projects, rubrics. They were preparing us for the next steps in life. And so I definitely think that high school prepared me a lot for Trinity.
How would you describe your experience at Trinity?
Yeah, so Trinity was really amazing. I mean, those 4 years were amazing. I mean, my freshman year, the spring semester, I only came to campus 1 month. We were here for in person for 1 month.
Oh, yeah.
Because the pandemic hit. And so I was virtual for a year and a half. So from being in campus in person, meeting folks that first semester to now virtual and not meeting folks was like a huge impact. It was like, having to connect with classmates outside of, the virtual world now. And so it was kind of an influencer, but I think the virtual mode really worked. I got to meet still a couple of friends through there, have connections from the people who I had met during my in-person time during the freshman year. And so when we came back the third year, we were still kind of respecting like what's called the social distance.
Oh yeah.
So it was still kind of weird, but even though we still made it, like I still made it like a great experience. Those last 2 years, I made sure that I would experience the whole like college experience that I could. I also connected with a lot of professors, and so all the resources that we had here, it was just amazing. It made my time here great.
Did you experience any challenges at Trinity as a woman of color?
I would say no. I didn't experience any challenges. I mean, just Trinity is like a really diverse school, so I wouldn't say that I faced any challenges as a woman of color.
I think that's really important, especially with the school as like diverse based. I feel like we all connect really well with each other.
Right, yeah, we connect, and like I feel like the support system as well, where like we get a lot of support from.
Yeah, but I feel like people at like PWIs don't experience as much. Let's see. Did you have a mentor or role model at Trinity?
So, I mean, being the first gen, I didn't have like a role model. I had to navigate college all by myself.
Yeah, you were the role model for your siblings.
For myself. I mean, the only people that I would think they were like my mentor were two professors. So one of them is Dr. Watts and Dr. Jackson, who are both in the business program. And they helped me a lot. I mean, they were always giving me opportunities, always, moving me to the side, or we will talk after classes were done and talked about what was next after college and stuff. And so I would say they helped me a lot, and they gave me a lot of great resources to prepare me for the next chapter of my life after graduating Trinity.
How did they contribute to your academic and personal growth?
So for Dr. Jackson, she is the advisory for the Business and Economics Club. And so when I first met her, there was like a connection there. And so she gave me the opportunity to be like involved in their Business and Economics Club. And so then I ended up being the president for I think 2 years for that club. And so I worked really well with her, and she helped me a lot, and she helped me boost a lot of my confidence as a student and as a woman as well. She really did help me a lot, and she really touched myself and helping me know that I had a lot of potential.
Can you tell me about one or two historical moments that occurred while you were at Trinity that moved you emotionally? It doesn't have to be like specifically at like within Trinity, but like whatever was going on with the nation at the time.
I think one of them, I'll say, during the pandemic when Joe Biden was elected was a huge like a history mark. I mean, after the president we had before him, who's currently our president again, when Biden was elected, I think we were in virtual. We were still in virtual, and so I remember when Biden was elected, I was really excited, especially like you said, growing up with parents who were both immigrants. It was gonna take a lot of pressure and a lot of like, because I was kind of afraid for my parents for the time for that time on their status. So I was like, now that he was gonna be he was our president now. It definitely helped me a lot. Feeling much better about the nation. Another one. What else will you?
I think that was like the main one.
I would say that for me, that was the main one. Yeah.
Especially like, at least that's the only time that I can think of, because I was graduating high school at the time. That's honestly the like the big one that I also hit with my other interviews. Is just talking about that time of how like all that fear was finally gone after Trump had gotten out of office. Especially like, although he didn't really do much during that time, it like he still did so much damage within everyone's community, especially seeing that he's back in office now and is doing so much worse than what he did the first time.
So we're living that historic time again. But I'll say for me, I think my only main one was when Biden was elected. It made a huge difference, and so I mean, for my parents, I felt like their safety was
what did you do after receiving your undergraduate degree from Trinity?
So after I graduated, I was still doing my internship with the local nonprofit. With them, I was doing a lot of virtual work. I didn't meet the other people because they were in Haiti, and my supervisor at the time, she was in Florida, and so I met her one time when she came up to Maryland, and so I was working with her for a couple months, and then from there, so my senior year, I had applied to a lot of jobs, a lot of like internships I could do after college, and so I got accepted to one, which is a program called the Chesapeake Conservation and Climate Corps. So that program is run by the Chesapeake Bay Trust, and so it was kind of a competitive program, so I wasn't really sure if I was going to even be selected to be part of that program, and so I didn't find out until like late July, early August, so that was kind of like almost like towards the end of summer. And so when I found out, I was placed where I'm working now. I spent my full time there as their environmental program manager, so I worked on a lot of environmental and sustainability projects with them. And so after that, finished that year working with them, which was back in August of 2024. There was an opportunity for me to kind of stay with them because there wasn't 100% that I was going to stay with them. So even during that time that I knew my internship was coming to an end, I was applying for jobs again and other internships I could do. And so that opportunity came, I stayed, and so right now I have been working with them, now working there full time, and I'm, like I said, working as their communication specialist.
What professional accomplishments are you most proud of?
Yeah, so professional accomplishments, I'll say growing and involving like a professional person. I think the different jobs that I have worked on, it helped me a lot involved like a professional with. I'll say all the opportunities I have been able to receive throughout those job experiences, and particularly these last two, I have met like a lot of people that have important roles. I've been a part of different like interviews or done a lot of projects or working with other folks.
What personal accomplishments are you most proud of?
I think my main one will be graduating. I mean, being the first gen, like again, being the only person to navigate this like college life by myself, and that was my main accomplishment, I would say. And hopefully being like a great role model for my siblings, for them to be able to see like, well, if my sister was able to go to college, well, I'm able to go to college as well, and or whatever they want to do in life, but they know that they're able to do something as well.
How did you find navigating Trinity as like a first gen student? Because you were mentioning how you didn't have that role model to really help you, like you had to do it all by yourself. Personally, I found it a bit really hard when I first transferred. So I just want to hear about your experience.
Yeah, I'll say when I first met with my advisor, we went over like my plan for those 4 years. And once I knew what those 4 years were going to do, I started doing my own plan by myself. I'm like, okay, this is the courses I have to graduate. This is what I have to do. These are, for example, what do I have to do in school so I'm able to, to graduate on time or find my job after college. And so I did a lot of like activities. I got involved. I connected with a lot of the professors, resources, or anything I was able to get from here, I was getting them.
What kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Great question. I think the legacy I want to leave behind is that at least I left a couple people remember me of me helping them out in some sort of way, or if I had a type of influence on them. Because, like I said, like growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher, and I always wanted to influence at least a couple of students who looked like me. So hopefully, in some shape or way, I have made like a great influence on somebody's life, and so I hope to leave that behind.
What do you feel the world needs to know about Trinity, and what do you feel the world needs to know about Trinity's alumni?
Yeah, I think people should know Trinity is a great school. I mean, from the people who work behind closed doors to the professors to the resources we have, like people should think about considering like Trinity like a great school. I mean, I didn't even think of coming to Trinity. I mean, I know at first it was like a women's college. So when I first decided, I was like, should I even come here? Because coming to a women's college was my first choice. But even though, I mean, it's now been diverse, I see now more men and boys from different, being more diverse. I mean, I think Trinity has been really amazing. I mean, you get to meet people, a lot of classmates, you make long-lasting friendships, and a lot of resources and a lot of stuff that you get to learn at Trinity will help you and will definitely help later on in life.
And just for like the last few questions, what do you feel is one vital piece of advice you would give to current and future Trinity students?
The advice I would give to people would be, well, students or anybody who's thinking of coming to Trinity would be to really enjoy these 4 years of college. Enjoy it and get all the help you need. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help, or don't be afraid if you're in class to ask for a question or anything. Like, all the people you have around are your support system, and so really take all the resources you can from here before you leave. And even after you leave, there'll still be resources that you'll still get from your other, the Trinity sisters who graduated. And if you know of any alum who graduated, connect with them on LinkedIn as well. Like, meet with them before you leave from Trinity. Like, meet with them for maybe 30 minutes on the Zoom call or on the phone call, talk to them and ask them questions of how was their time and any advice they can give you as well, especially if you're navigating a career that, you want to meet with somebody. Most of the Trinity alum will always be happy to help and give you some type of advice or tell you maybe about any job opportunities that is going on in their workplace.
And then, what do you hope current and future Trinity students will do going forward to preserve the university's legacy?
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah. What do you hope current and future Trinity students will do going forward to preserve the university's legacy?
I think continue striving for your best, and I think also just following like what is the main mission when it comes to Trinity. I think if you're one of the students who are following the missions and what their mission statement is, I think that's a way to keep Trinity's legacy keep going on.
That was my last question. So I do just want to thank you one more time for doing this interview. And that concludes our interview.
Thank you.